Dear friends, today I am going to give you a small talk on the character of Amal, which is there in the play called The Post Office, authored by Dr. Ravindranath Tagore. Ravindranath Tagore was a genius personality. You can call him a modern Ved Vyasa. Almost in all the faculties of arts, he has shown his mastery, whether it's a music or painting or literature. He was an extraordinary personality. He was a great songwriter, playwright, essayist, educationalist, musician. So, Rabindranath Tagore's Post Office is also a very remarkable play which was written 102 years ago. He wrote over 1000 poems, 8 volumes of short stories, almost 2 dozen plays and playlets, 8 novels, and many books and essays on education, literature, philosophy, religion, etc. He also tried his hand over social concerns, social topics as well. So, aside from poetry, drama, and short story, he was also expert in music and painting too. So, such a great personality. He also was well known, well versed with science also. He knew Newtonian physics very well, and that we can make out from his long conversation and interview with the great scientist Albert Einstein. He also composed national anthems of India and Bangladesh, and perhaps he is the only poet of the world, only poet in the history who composed 2 national anthems. So that is his greatness. He was Nobel laureate, the first author outside Europe who got Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1913. And in the year 1915, he was conferred knighthood by King George V. And after Jallianwala massacre, he returned this knighthood to British government, British Empire. He remained very active as a literary, spiritual and socio-political force in India and in the world. He was in a true sense a world citizen. His university, Shanti Niketan, is a great example, emblem of Vishwa Sahitya, Vishwa Manvi, world citizen and world literature. He is truly a man of whole earth, a product of best of both Indian and Western culture and literature. So Ravindranath Tagore is a great genius, and of many his masterpieces, Post Office is written over a century. It was written in 1911. It's a creative product of the time when Tagore himself went through a turmoil. So Post Office respects the eager communication of a child to seek to move and participate in the activity of life around him. The Post Office is a 2-act play. In the first act, a small boy Amal is bedridden and he is confined to his room only. So he sees outside world through one small window. So his interaction with outside world is from a window in the first act, and in the second act he is bedridden. He is very sick and the outside world comes to his room, and in the confined room his interaction with the outside people is shown in the second act. Act 1 represents what Amal sees through the window and what happens outside the house, and Act 2 shows all that happens inside the room, different people calling on the boy lying in sick bed. The Post Office was written during the most crucial phase of Rabindranath Tagore's life as an author and as a human being, because his world, his personal world, was almost destroyed. There were so many deaths in his family. His dear ones have left him when he started writing this play, and that is transform into his dramatic projection in this wonderful play. As you know, Tagore was a son of a great landlord, and he was taken care of by so many servants. So here he presents the character of Amal, a small boy who is taken care of by so many people, and this extra, the more care is not digested by this small boy. Tagore wrote the post office, which earlier known as Dakghar in Bengali. It was the year 1911, and that was the time, very short ago, he had lost his wife, his two sons, his assistant and father due to several diseases within a few years. If we go by chronology, in the year 1902, his wife died, and his oldest son died in the year 1903. Satish Chandra Ray, his assistant, he died in 1904, and his father died in 1905, and his younger son, Samindra, he died in 1907. So this was unbearable shock after shock in Tagore's life, and Tagore expresses how he encountered all these incidents. There were very unfortunate incidents in his life, but these are the days when Tagore has seen death very close by. So, through character of Amal, he wants to express how a man should deal with death. And this is a very Indian way of dealing with death, because in India, in Indian culture and philosophy, we don't take death as a bad omen. It's a beginning of a new life. So it's a kind of refreshing, rejuvenating experience for a soul. So Amal, though it's on the verge of death, it is waiting for a new life, a fresh life, which is full of freedom. Because death brings freedom which he is never allowed to enjoy. So that is one remarkable thing with the character of Amal, as far as Amal is concerned. When the play starts, post office, the very title suggests that it is like a clearing house. Our human life is like a post office, where every day plenty of letters come and go. So thus we invite several feelings and experiences, emotions in our daily life, daily routine, and we respond to many events as well. So post office symbolizes human life, human routine, and play is also about emancipation, spiritual freedom, expansion, new life, liberation, etc. Through this play and character of Amal, Tagore presents the ideal of an childhood, how a child should be, an ideal child should be. Amal, the very name suggests, the meaning of Amal, very word is angel of innocence. So Amal is an emblem or example of innocence, and throughout the play we come to know that Amal represents innocence. Though he seems innocent, but there are a lot of potential in his character. He looks at the world through his innocent eyes, but he very aptly, very perfectly, he percepts the reality of the world. Though he is on the verge of death, there is no optimism in his character. There is no pessimism in his character. He is very, very optimistic. He looks all the colors of the world, and thus he sets an example for everybody that we should not take death as end of the life, but we should take it as a beginning of a new life, which has obviously a lot of potential and possibilities to explore. Amal can be seen as a transition Indian. See, there are two contrasts. His father, called Madhav, he represents older generation, while Amal represents newer generation. Madhav belongs to the generation which is submissive to British rule. The doctor represents British Empire, and Madhav is ready to accept whatever his doctor has prescribed. So he is very obedient, he is very submissive to doctor, and doctor symbolizes British rule. So Madhav, one more thing we should notice about Madhav's character, that he is not well literate, and like every Indian father and mother, he wants to see to it that his son gets through school and college education. He wants his son to read and write, to learn letters, and to get mastery over formal education. So he constantly wish that my son should get very good education. But Amal represents something else. He is not interested in formal education. He wants to educate himself through the real life experience. He wants to explore the world which is there outside his window. And it is Amal who brings joy to the life of Madhav. And before that, Madhav was very passionately earning money. He was after money. He was very money-minded man. But when Amal comes in his life, the whole perception of life is changed. Madhav says, formerly earning was a passion for me, and now I know it is all for this dear boy. Earning becomes a joy. Earning becomes a joy for Madhav because there is Amal in his house. So through Amal's character, Tagore wants to say that how a child, the entry of child in the family changes the perception of the family members, especially the family head. And that is the very first dialogue which reveal the importance of a child in a family. Then gradually we see Amal interacting with, firstly he interacts with dairymen, then watchmen, then headmen, then Sudha, and a troop of boys, a fakir, and so on. So when we think of all these interactions, we see how Amal interacts with the outside world. He is innocent, simple, very gentle boy. He talks in a very day-to-day language, very simple vocabulary he uses. But there is a very deep philosophy in Amal's dialogues. Amal presents the outside world in his philosophical light. One remarkable thing, whosoever comes in contact with Amal, they find life meaningful, enjoyable, and thus they find purpose in their life. So firstly, when he interacts with dairyman is not happy with the life he has, but it is Amal who makes him happy selling curds. And watchman is like symbolic, working for British Empire, and he doesn't know what he is doing for British Empire. Anyway, he also finds purpose of life after talking to Amal. And then comes headman. Headman is very shrewd. He does not take Amal very seriously, and he talks to Amal in a very rude and rough manner. Even he insults or he does mockery of Amal, but finally at the end of the play he gets transformed. His views are changed, and even watchman, he also wants to meet him again and again. Even headman says that, okay, I take this boy as a silly boy, but finally I would like to come to this boy again and again. So these are the transformations that have come through Amal's character. Amal's dealing with all these characters. See, dairyman says, you have taught me how to be happy selling curds. And Amal talks to watchman. He says, oh yes, your work is great too. So he gratifies every common man's life. And watchman, initially he says that, are you not afraid of me? He does not want interaction and intimacy with such a child. But at the end he says, I'll come again. And that nasty headman, he calls Amal as a wretched monkey in the initial phase. But at the end of the play, he finds some greatness in Amal's character. Jafar or Ghaffar, who at the in the second act appears as a fakir, he used to scare children, but when he comes to Amal, he becomes very friendly with him. And Sudha, she is a very little girl, very enlightening character. She is as innocent as Amal, and she brings flower for Amal like it's a floral tribute to Amal. Amal asks watchman that why don't you bang the bell? And watchman says the time has not come yet. And here Amal talks us about time, the very philosophical meaning of time. He says someone says time has not come yet, and someone says that time has gone by. And he says that your time will come the moment you strike the gong. And this is a light on our fate. We all think this way. We say our time has not come. But Amal says, Rabindranath Tagore says that your time has come the moment you bang the gong. Another thing, here it reminds me Upanishadic verses that Kalo na yata vayam eva yata. The time has not passed. It is we who are passing by. So time is very philosophical concept here in the character of Amal, that is presented through Amal's character. And Fakir is very enlightening character who makes the play very joyful. One more thing, imagination of Amal. Amal is very imaginative. He wants to be a squirrel, he wants to be a bird, he wants to be a postman, he wants to sell curd, and he wants to do so many things in a small time which he has been given, because the life is at the end. So there is no life saved for him, but still he wants to enjoy his life. He wants to do so many things. He wants to learn what the new building has come up. And he knows that, oh, it's a new building that is made by king himself. So he thinks it's a post office, and he wants to work as a king's postman. He wants to deliver the message of king, and here king stands for God. Wonderful thing that he all the life he aspires to meet or receive letter from king, and finally it is announced that the king is sending not only his letter but he himself going to visit Amal. And that is the end, the fruitful end of the play, that the very soul in the form of Amal is longing to meet God, and here God too sets out to meet the soul. And that is the very crux of the play, that as innocence is always meeting divinity, the God himself. And thus through the character of Amal, Tagore reveals the mystery of life, that if you are innocent and if you wish to meet God, God is always there for you. Thank you.